Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name's Jen and today I'm going to share with you how to harvest the vermicompost out of an in-bed worm compost bin. I'll start by sharing the tools you need for the process, and then I'll walk you through how to get them out, and then I'm going to show you how to use them. Let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the lid. What this is going to do is expose the worms to some sunlight, and that's going to make the worms burrow down and burrow potentially out and into the soil. That's going to help us avoid actually taking the worms out of the bin. I'm going to take the shovel and just kind of barely move the fresh scraps off the surface, just so I can make sure that a little bit more sunlight gets to those worms. While we're letting the worms move away a little bit, I'll show you what tools you're going to need for the job. You're probably going to want some gloves so that you can handle it without worrying about what you're touching. And then I'm going to use a small shovel to help scoop it out of the bin. You're also going to want to sift through all of the vermicompost that you pull out. What that's going to do is help you avoid getting worms in your finished product, and also help you separate out the food and the bedding that isn't quite broken down enough and needs to go back into the bed for more time. So I don't actually own a sifter at the moment, so I'm going to use a wire cooling rack from my kitchen, and then I'm just going to use a bucket. I think this is like a, I don't know, 2 or 3 gallon bucket, and I'm just going to set that screen on top of the bucket so that I have my finished product that will go into the bottom of that bucket, and any of the large pieces that need to go back into the compost bin, I just plan on temporarily setting them in the top of the lid. I also plan to immediately use the earthworm castings to amend the soil in this raised bed. So I also brought out the easy straw mulch so that I can put the castings in and then put mulch on top of those castings. The mulch is going to help retain moisture so that you don't dry out your vermicompost. Okay, so let's get started. I want to point out at the top, you're going to see a lot of the browns and a lot of some of the food scraps that have not yet broken down. So what we're going to do is, this is pretty easy. I don't think I need to put this on the sifter, so I'm just going to directly put it on the lid. These are some good examples of some things that you can feed the worms. So the beddings are the browns that would go in your compost bin. Like toilet paper rolls are a great, like smaller piece of cardboard. This is like a broken down egg carton. And then actually a lot of the dry shells from black-eyed peas are in there. All of those are great options for browns. You can use some leaves that are dried from around your yard. And then the food that you actually feed them should be some kitchen scraps, preferably things that are not spicy, like onions, garlic, jalapenos, other types of peppers. Don't put those in there. They like things like mango peels, potato peels, the end part of cabbage or another head of lettuce. You can see I've also used mulch in the past, like some straw mulch as the bedding material. And I do feed it pretty frequently. I do it probably on a weekly basis. I have a bin underneath the sink where I collect the food scraps, and then really whenever it's probably on a once a week basis, I pull that out of my cabinet and bring it out here to feed the worms. And I actually put both the food scraps and the browns in that container in the kitchen, which helps any kind of smell that you might get, or excess like mold growth that you might get if you simply left a bunch of food scraps in there. Especially things like, the green part of strawberries, the leaves on strawberries. All right, so it looks like I'm gonna have a lot of unbroken down stuff, but this is a really deep in-bed composter. I've been using it for about 6 months, and I've never emptied it. So we have a lot of stuff that needs to go back in it, but we also have a lot of this vermicompost at the bottom. Now let's talk a little bit about what the composition of this vermicompost is. A lot of people seem to refer to it as earthworm castings, but it's not only earthworm castings, it's also traditional compost, right? It's a mixture. The mixture of those two things is called vermicompost. I'm gonna hand sift as much as possible, I think, right off the top, and then kind of be selective about what I put on top of this wire rack for sifting. Oof, definitely wear gloves. There's a lot of bugs in here. So other types of worm bins, I'd imagine, have far fewer other bugs because they're in a very contained area, right? They have a lid. They're using one of those big storage containers. But here we have, this is in a raised bed, so there's a whole lot of other bugs in the soil that are moving in and out of this compost, breaking it down. Now, I will say we're trying not to get the worms, but if we do, it's really okay because they're in this type of setup, they're constantly moving back into the bin and through the soil. So they're going back and forth already. And since I plan to amend my soil in this raised bed with this harvest, it's not really going to matter much. What I'm really trying to separate out is vermicompost versus stuff that needs to be broken down some more. You can see this stuff is starting to look pretty good. There is some mulch that's passing through the sifter. I'm not going to worry about it so much because I'm just going to be putting mulch on top. So we're probably realistically getting a mixture of mulch and vermicompost and earthworm castings. But you can be confident that it's an all-natural fertilizer, high in nutrients, good for the plants. Beneficial bacteria is going to be in there. So the sifter is also going to provide the benefit of kind of fluffing up your vermicompost harvest. It'll be nice and aerated before you put it in your garden. Okay, so I finished harvesting my vermicompost. That's what's in this bucket right here. It looks really good. Now I'm going to fill this back up with all of the stuff that I sifted out that's not broken down. I'm going to put it all back in. And this is not by any means like a perfect separation. It's hard actually to separate it. I will say I think I'm going to not put straw mulch back in here because it seems like it's one of the slowest things to break down, along with eggshells. It's been months since I put eggshells in here and they're still not broken down, so I may choose not to put eggshells in anymore, just so I can get a little bit better consistency of vermicompost in the end. So press that back down. Put the lid back on. And now we have vermicompost to spread throughout the raised bed. So your vermicompost is going to feed your plants. It's full of nutrients, it's full of good bacteria, and it's also naturally slow releasing, which means it's not going to burn your plants. So I'm gonna empty this entire bucket all over this whole raised bed, and then I'm gonna top it with some fresh mulch for water retention. I'm getting ready to do my fall plantings, so something like this vermicompost is gonna be really great for my fall crops. Now, some of you may not want to use all of your harvested vermicompost all at the same time. So one thing you could do is just put the lid on your bucket and save it for another time, or you can scoop all this out and put it into a Ziploc bag and store it like you would earthworm castings that you bought at the store. Let me know in the comments if this video was helpful for you to figure out how to harvest the vermicompost out of your in-bed vermicompost bin. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.